the United States.
Hello, everybody. Yay. Well, everybody have a seat. Welcome to the White House. I love Astronomy Night. And we've got a very clear night to enjoy Astronomy Night. This is some of the most fun that I have on this job. They never let me tinker with the telescopes. They don't let me hold the moon rocks when you guys aren't around. Michelle is dying to know how they grow lettuce on the International Space Station. But when you guys come, I get to have some fun. And we've got some space buffs here tonight. We have a number of members of Congress, including former astronaut Senator Bill Nelson from the great state of Florida. My science advisor, John Holdren, is here. Where is he? John, there he is. See, John's a superstar in this crowd. The head of NASA, Charlie Bolden, along with 11 of his fellow astronauts. Mae Jemison, the first African-American woman in space, is here. We've got Bill Nye, the science guy. We've got the Mythbusters in the house. But the most important thing we have here, in addition to this guy, is the young people who are here. Young people from across the country who are already focused on some of the greatest mysteries of the universe. And I'm going to begin with a quick story. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, actually it was in Brooklyn, a 14-year-old asked his parents, "What are the stars?" His parents replied, "They're lights in the sky, kid." The answer did not satisfy that young man, so he set out to answer his endless questions about the stars and the planets and the possibilities of extraterrestrial life. And Carl Sagan grew up to become an astronomer who enlarged this country's imagination and sense of wonder about the depths of outer space. We've got some young Americans here tonight with that same kind of adventurous spirit. When Pranav Sivakumar was 6 years old, he found an encyclopedia about famous scientists lying around the house. At least he thinks it was lying around there. Actually, his parents probably were setting it out, hoping he was going to run into it. And he's been fascinated with outer space ever since. For years, every Saturday morning, his parents drove him an hour to an astrophysics lab for Ask a Scientist class. And before long, he teamed up with researchers he met there to study gravitational lensing of quasars. That is not what I was thinking about at his age. Pranav was a global finalist in the Google Science Fair, not once, but twice. So you know he's going to do some important things. Give him a big round of applause. With the help from their coaches, the RCS rocketry champions of Russellville, Alabama. Where are you? You're back there? There you go. Stand up, guys. They built a rocket that flies eggs, well, at least one egg, nearly 1,000 feet into the air and returns to the Earth unbroken in under a minute. They beat hundreds of other teams to take first place in the America and International Rocketry Challenges. We are very proud of you, gentlemen and ladies. Great job. From the time she was young, Phoebe Kinzelman spent nights like tonight on her grandfather's driveway staring at the stars through his telescope. She spent a summer at space camp at NASA's Johnson Space Center, and her dream is to become an astronaut. I think she speaks for many of us when she says that one of her favorite Instagram accounts is Scott Kelly's. Space is a humbling thing, Phoebe says. You can't get too eager to rule the entire universe. But Phoebe's on her way. Where's Phoebe? Stand up, Phoebe, so everybody can give you a big round of applause. And where's Pradnov? Because I was talking about him and I didn't. There you go. Give Pradnov a big round of applause. So these are examples of the extraordinary young people that we have here today. Phoebe's given pretty wise advice for a 17-year-old. Young people like Phoebe should encourage all of us to help our young people set their sights as high as they want. We need teachers to light a spark of curiosity in young minds, and we've got some outstanding teachers here today. We need parents to leave encyclopedias of famous scientists lying around the house, or help turn a bedroom into an ideas laboratory. We need to inspire more young people to ask about the stars and begin that lifetime quest to become the next great scientist or inventor or engineer or astronaut. And we have to watch for and cultivate and encourage those glimmers of curiosity and possibility, not suppress them, not squelch them, because not only are the young people's futures at stake, but our own is at stake. That's one of the reasons that my administration's worked so hard to encourage kids to enter STEM fields, especially young women who are too often underrepresented in these fields. We're halfway. We are halfway to my goal of training 100,000 new STEM teachers by the end of the decade. We're on track to connect 99% of our students to high-speed internet before the end of the decade. And over the past 6 years, our Educate to Innovate campaign has raised $1 billion to support STEM programs nationwide, including 80 other astronomy nights happening right now all across the country. So tonight I'm proud to announce new commitments by cities and organizations all over the country to expose even more students and their parents to STEM education. Bayer is launching a national effort to help 100,000 American parents and children work on science and engineering projects together. More than 300 foundations, museums, libraries, and schools across the country are partnering to bring hands-on science programming to students who don't have it. 8 observatories in Hawaii will offer all the residents of that state free guided tours. They didn't do that when I was in high school. Wish we had thought that up earlier. But these are just a few examples of the work that's being done all across the country, and I hope that more are going to follow the leads of these outstanding organizations, because that's how we're going to make sure our next generation of explorers take us even farther than we're going today. A few hours ago I got a chance to talk to the astronauts up on the International Space Station, where Scott Kelly is living for an entire year. Last month, NASA found water flowing on Mars. Earlier this year, we mapped Pluto in high resolution. In recent years, we've discovered the first Earth-sized planet orbiting a star in a distant galaxy, and we've even slipped the outermost grasp of our solar system with Voyager 1, the first human-made object to venture into interstellar space. In 2017, with the help of American space companies, our astronauts will once again launch to space directly from American soil. And today, NASA is developing the capabilities to send humans to Mars in the 2030s. That means that some of the young people who are here tonight might be working on that project. Some of you might be on your way to Mars. America can do anything. We just got to keep on encouraging every new generation to explore and invent and create and discover. We got to keep encouraging some young kid in Brooklyn or a budding rocket scientist in Alabama or that young girl who's dreaming to become an astronaut. Because as long as young people, like so many of you who are here tonight, keep seeking answers to the great questions, America can do anything. Which is why I'm so excited to have you all tonight. You make me feel hopeful about our future, because I know that you're not satisfied with being home to the last great discovery. You want to be home to the next great discovery. And when I look out in the faces of these young people, I am absolutely confident that there are new frontiers that we're going to be busting through in my lifetime and beyond. So thank you. for that. You make me excited and you make me inspired. So, enough talk. Let's have some fun with this telescope. It looks pretty big. My understanding is that we've got another young lady, Sophie. We need you to come up here and help me with this telescope because I don't know what I'm doing. Where are you? Where are you? Save me. Here we go. Okay. I don't want to break it. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm very proud of you. Let's grab a mic here.
Okay.
All right. Introduce yourself.
Okay. Hello, I'm Sofia Alvarez, and I'm a student at Brooklyn International High School, and I'm from Paraguay.
Well, it's great to see you, Sophie. So, what are we going to do with this big telescope here?
Well, we're gonna see the moon.
Oh, well, let's do that.
Okay.
I see it there, but
Yeah.
you think I'm going to get a better view through this big telescope?
Probably.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. So is it already set up for me?
Oh yes. So I just wanted to tell you more about it.
Please
how it
do.
works. Yeah. So it is a reflective telescope. So it has three parts. There are two mirrors,
Okay.
and one of them right now is capturing the light of the moon, and then the other mirror is just making it focus. And then there is an eyepiece lens, which right now is making it magnifying the image of the moon, and that's how you're gonna be able to see the moon like it's right in front of you. So do you
Okay.
wanna
Should I
try
just
it?
go ahead and try it?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Does it matter which eye?
It's the one you see the
I'm
best
teasing.
with.
All right. Wow.
So right now, what you're seeing is they're the black smooth parts, the dark smooth parts. They're called Maria or seas, and they're lava flows. And they're the craters. They are the result of heavy bombardments with other gigantic space stuff with the moon.
Is space stuff a scientific term?
Yes, I think so.
Can I just say this looks spectacular?
It does.
You guys are going to get a chance to see through this, but as good as it looks up there, it sure looks better here. Now, the interesting thing is the image is inverted.
It is?
Yeah, it is. See, if you look up,
Yes.
the right side, my right side, is lit up. But if you look through the telescope, it's the left side that's lit up.
Well, it has a mirror. It's a reflective one. It's like that's
Just,
why
I was just trying to make a point
Yes, yes.
about optics. Well, this is spectacular. So, Sophie, what year are you in school?
I'm sorry.
What year are you in school? What
I'm
grade?
a senior. High
You're a
school.
senior.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to do next year?
Well, I want to follow photography.
Uh huh.
I'm also interested in Korean studies,
Yeah.
and I also like astronomy. So I wanna do something with those three.
Wow.
If possible. If possible. Yeah.
Anything's possible with you.
Yeah.
You're a spectacular young lady.
Thank
Give Sophie a big round of applause.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. We are setting you loose. We've got some incredible exhibits all over the place. Not just this telescope, but I know that we've got a mini planetarium and virtual reality and real reality. And so there's all kinds of good stuff. I hope you guys have a wonderful time tonight. And I hope that all of you are inspired the way I am by science and by space. All right? Thank you, everybody. Great job.
walks. There will be a woman going up to address everybody as soon as the president departs. Okay?
See you guys. Have fun.
Don't be shy.
Good evening. Could I ask everyone to return to their seats, please? If everyone could return to their seats, we have some instructions for you on how the rest of the evening is going to go. So if everyone can take their seat. Thank you all for joining us here at White House Astronomy Night. My name is Meredith Drossbach, and I work at the office.
Hey everybody, we are here, Jamie Heineman, Bill Nye, and I are here talking to Dava Newman as part of the White House's Astronomy Night.
Deputy Administrator of NASA.
Great to be here with you guys tonight.
Really great to have you, and I'm actually particularly a little fanboy about this specifically because you're always, actually this is one of the first times I've seen you not wearing the spacesuit.
I'm just wearing a work suit today.
Normal human clothes.
Right.
And you're
Spacesuits are for humans.
No, I know, but I've never...
I mean, not for you.
But
For
I want
humans.
all the spacesuits. I want to collect
Yeah.
all the spacesuits. So, what does Astronomy Night mean to you to come here and be part of this?
Oh, for us, for NASA, it's just amazing. Be here at the White House, these hundreds of kids here getting inspired, and from NASA, we're taking them on our journey to Mars. Actually, it's all the students here are going to actually be the ones to do our journey to Mars, right? They're going to be the astronauts. They're going to be
It's very reasonable,
building
you guys, that the kids that were here tonight are going to walk on Mars. That's not crazy.
We're counting on it.
Yeah, somebody.
It's really inspiring to walk around and talk to these kids and see a level of focus and drive to do what they're doing that I totally did not have at their age.
What were you doing?
I was building with Legos.
Well, that's
I was
worthy.
thinking about
Were they
girls.
aerospace Legos?
Yes,
That's
the
a
first
start.
space
Were they
Legos. Those were my Legos.
interferometric Legos?
They were what?
You know, interferometry. You know, the kids are all
Not
doing
yet.
that.
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, I had secret doors. I had elevators. That's what I had.
So I'm wondering whether it's a good idea to send young people like that because they're going to get like fried by the radiation. You should send old people where it doesn't matter anymore. They could get fried.
God,
They're
there's a
gonna
few
die sooner
people
or
I'd
later
like to
anyway.
send.
So you want to
actually.
be like one of those guys that volunteered to go fix the Fukushima reactor, knowing that your time was descendant. So
Yeah, you don't want to send some young kid, you know. It's
Well, they won't be
yeah.
young though, because we still have until the 2030s to go there. And radiation protection is one of our #1 issues.
So how are you dealing with that?
We're studying it, protecting it. We're mapping, the radiation environment right now on Mars, and it's not going to be in the suits. The habitats or even caves. You need to provide a lot of radiation protection.
She's nodding her head. You know, caves, Mars,
caves,
radiation
I'm
protection.
I'm
Yeah.
in. I'm ready to go.
Now, it may be it's very reasonable that the radiation is not as serious as people thought, right?
Might be.
Is
I
that
mean,
really possible?
Well, we'll see what happens with the research, the genetic research, antioxidants, but we'll still have enough radiation protection in place. And actually,
They've
water,
thought of that.
Water is a great radiation shield.
A big,
so you need
how
water to
thick?
drink, right?
What is it? It's about
Pretty
a foot
thick.
of water,
That'd be good.
12
yeah,
inches.
Yeah, half a meter, 12 inches or so.
So you've got to
And
make
regular,
a hab
if you
that-
want dirt, you want maybe a meter.
Okay.
So more dirt than water, but they're both
Well,
good
we
protection.
should combine that with the hydroponics that we saw over there, because you're growing plants and stuff. You just line up the dirt and the plants along the outside of the shell.
Thank you very much.
It's a new sustainable garden,
Yeah.
on the outside and the
So,
water.
so
Get
the safest
people
place to be
inside.
on Mars is scuba diving then,
Scuba diving. There you go.
potentially.
They have water there.
Yeah, there's some issues. You want a dry
A little
suit.
salty.
A little salty. So it is quite reasonable, Dava, that there is enough salt water seasonally every Mars year that there's something alive there, right? It's reasonable. It's not
reasonable.
crazy. It's extraordinary, but not crazy.
Right? We knew there was water, ice, right? Now there's water, running water, salty, so it's pretty
Shocking.
fantastic, shocking.
So my claim is that if we were to discover living things or evidence of living things, it would change the world. It would change the way everybody thinks about what it means to be alive in the cosmos. That's my opinion.
And
think it'll
frankly, I
rewrite-
think in the best way.
In the
Yes,
best
Would
way.
in
alter
the
that
best
in,
way, yeah.
in the right
Absolutely.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'd start asking different questions.
yeah.
So I understand you designed this suit. I'm fascinated with that suit. It's like, so it what do you shrink wrap it onto somebody so it fits perfectly closely? Is
Yeah,
that-
you do 3D laser scans,
Okay.
and then it's mechanical counter pressure. That one, so it's putting the pressure right on your skin. The current NASA suits are gas pressurized suits, and our future suits at NASA are going to be lightweight, mobile. You get to Mars, and you need to be like an Olympic athlete, right? Big mountains,
Yes,
Right,
that's what
right.
you need.
deep
Yes.
ravines,
Yes.
and we're going there for the search for life. So we want to empower them. So mobility, lightweight. So I like to think about, you want the best athletes you can
So-
going, and you want to empower them with a really light suit.
How low a pressure can a human withstand? Like when you're
About a-
scuba diving, you can take a lot of pressure
A
from
lot
the
because
outside.
that's high pressure.
Yeah.
So in a spacesuit, it's the opposite direction, about a third of an atmosphere. So we're here at 1 atmosphere, our nice life support system, Earth. So if we give a third of an atmosphere to someone in a pressurized suit, you keep them alive.
300 millibar, 300 hectopascals.
Yep, 30 kilopascals, I counted. 4.3 psi if we want to, yeah.
Oh, PSI, how handy. Yes, yes, I remember.
30
one I like.
kilopascals, you're a third of an atmosphere,
Yeah.
that's easy.
That's cool, but you got to press. You have to press on, is that right? You're a government employee.
There you go.
Get back
on
to
our
work.
Journey, on our journey to Mars.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Have
you,
a great
Don.
time.
We'll
Thank
see
you
you
so
next
much
Yeah.
weekend.
joining us.
Yeah, see you soon.
See you in
Yes,
San Francisco next week.
So nice
Yes,
to meet you.
San Francisco.
San Francisco,
You'll be doing
Pasadena,
California.
Here we go. Yep. Can't wait to see you.
Carry
Bye-bye.
on. Thank you.
Carry on.
Are you up? Yeah, and me too.
Yeah, I'll leave. Yes.
All right.
May, great to see you.
Hi guys.
Hello.
How are you?
We're good.
It's good to be here. It's freezing here.
I know.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
No, no.
We have the amazing Mae Jemison, astronaut, rock star. May.
A pleasure. I reached over you to say hi to a friend of mine earlier in the audience. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Hello, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Good.
We have some questions from high school students all over the country have been
Awesome.
submitting their questions,
Uh-oh.
and I'm going to try
These are gonna
and
be the hard ones.
here we go. For each of you, what memorable moment would you like to share about your career?
You can go first.
Well, I just came to the White House a year ago to be the U.S. Chief Technology Officer. So
you're the
I'm
Chief
in the
Technology
middle
Officer for America.
for America.
That's
And
astonishing.
it's an honor to be working with this president who is such a science president. And we're trying to do things like this event, you know, where we get more of the American people, kids and kids at heart, to realize that science and technology is more like this.
Yeah.
It's what we do together,
Right.
and the exploration and openness. We can learn some facts when we need them, but really doing it and exploring is really fun. Almost like wouldn't it be cool if we could learn science the way you guys do myth busting, the way you do amazing missions, and it was more like PE. And we play a little and do a little, and then we get some instruction, you know, like learning baseball, play a little. So I love my current job. We work on all kinds of different projects on behalf of the American people, digital government and science and STEM and tech. And so how about you, May?
So I'm gonna have to go with Megan too and talk about my current job, even though some of my past jobs have been pretty cool as well.
Spectacular.
Pretty cool as well.
Astronaut. It's hard to
So
beat that.
one highlight is though, because it brings everything together, is the work I'm doing now, which is called 100-Year Starship, which is about making sure that we have the capabilities of human travel to another star system within 100 years. So not a launch, but making sure the capabilities. And the reason why that's important is to be able to create this other perspective, to look at really hard problems and come up with things that will solve them, but will also help us here on Earth. And the reason it's so exciting for me is because you sort of look down the road of when you're traveling, that you've traveled as a child, and I remember looking up at the stars, always assuming I wanted to be a part of it, sort of going down that road, engineering, medicine, all of that, working in West Africa, having been an astronaut and doing other things. But then this whole piece is sort of like, what can I use my talents on? And this was something I thought would be really important contribution, that is making sure that people get involved. How do we create that commitment that will last for a long period of time, that we don't it doesn't take us 50 years to do the next thing, right, that we get to do them because the public stays involved.
Well, so there's often a debate around this subject where people are like, why do we need to know about Mars? Why do we need to know about the moon? Why can't we solve problems down here?
I can
talk
tell
about
you
why exploration is so important.
So I'm a physician, all right? That's my training. So I always ask people, do you want the physician who has only studied one patient their entire career, or do you want the physician who's seen many patients? I want the physician who's seen many patients. That's the same thing as we start to learn about the Earth, right? And this planet that we're on. The more we know about other planets, the more we know about the future, the past, the history of our planet, and how do we live on it. And then the other part of it is that there's all these incredible leaps that we make. If we're just doing things that we know we can do, we would never be where we are right now. We would never have the global positioning satellite systems that we walk around with in our head. We would never have certain materials. We wouldn't even probably have this miniaturization to the level that we have now. Weather satellites. I live in Houston. We like weather satellites. Other parts of the country starting to like weather satellites too, right? So those are things that we wouldn't have had if we had not pushed ourselves to do more than we knew we could do.
It's a
Well,
very important
we've
step.
also noticed that a lot of the most important discoveries that have ever been made weren't things that people were actually looking for at the time.
And
So-
we've noticed that in our
Yeah.
job as well.
You kind of
and so-
serendipity. You know, you
Penicillin?
discover things.
Yeah, I mean, when you embark on some of these searches, there is other stuff that you'll run across along the way that maybe wasn't what you started out with, but actually turns out to be the real important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Critically
absolutely.
important. So being on that adventure that May's talking about, one of the things I love in the sort of slides you have, you show, if you imagine this is a map of the U.S., you show so far in space we've gone kind of from L.A. a little bit to the suburbs, and what your mission is to get all the way to New York. I mean, the equivalent of that
right.
distance to get to another,
Yeah.
to get where you want to go, which is great.
So some of the things that come out of sort of the work that's going on at OSTP was this term Grand Challenge,
Yep.
right? So Grand Challenge is something that galvanizes lots of different disciplines to be able to do something that seems difficult. So going to another star is much more difficult than it appears in any of the movies, that it's much more difficult than going to Mars or Jupiter. So that map that Megan was talking about, that you just go this little distance, is what Voyager's been doing since 1977, traveling at 35,000 miles per hour.
Yep.
So to be able to go that whole distance to New York, you have to completely change energy. You have to completely change data, right? One of the things we're looking at now is big data.
Yeah.
What do we do
Well,
with
and-
it?
Or, where they're
to-
growing lettuce here, like how are we going to generate the food on this trip?
Yeah.
What are we going to make? We have to take everything with us as if the starship itself is like a mini planet for
And
the
I'd
group
love
that's
to,
going.
to Jamie's point that landing a probe on an asteroid was, in some ways, it went very wrong, and yet the going wrong taught us so much about
Yes.
the makeup of the asteroid. We learned a tremendous amount
Mm-hmm.
from what happened to that.
So my son just came out of the Martian film,
Yeah.
which was exciting. And I love what he said, because he said, Mom, someday Mars is going to be like Canada, and the Earth is going to be like Ethiopia, where everyone came from. And I'm like, you got it, Alex. But being able to watch, the actors go through debugging, and solving problems, that's real science, and that's
Yeah.
fun. And we hope that the Grand Challenges get to be not only part of our adult lives, but also our school lives. And the kinds of science fairs and these kinds of festivals are much more important. The kids get involved. The United Nations just ratified the Sustainable Development Goals, the global goals, 17 goals that all of us are working together to end poverty, get gender equality, justice, oceans, etc. And so we hosted a solutions summit at the UN where we put up a webpage and we asked them, we got 800 people around the planet who said things that they already had in progress. And we had 14 of them come present at the UN, the videos up on the web. But really like thinking about each other as entrepreneurial teammates who have great ideas for stuff that we can work together, whether it's for Starship or anything else.
Right, and I think one of the things you're talking about with science is it's hands-on, right? So, as a chemical engineer, I would have never have done it if I had to just memorize a periodic table.
Yeah.
We really need to do the kind of work where it's hands-on. You don't learn coding by pretending to code, right?
No.
You
have
play
to
around
actually
with
code. You
sensors
have
and
to
Internet
actually
of
do
Things
things.
And the
and
thing we
coding
have
and
discovered
toys,
is,
toys first.
and kids really like this process, when you look into something deep enough, all of a sudden you find you have your own take on it.
Right.
You have your own opinion on it.
Right.
All of a sudden now you're super involved and you have something to contribute.
Well, children are natural-born scientists, right? Come out of the chute, picking up the bugs, the snails, looking at it like, what's this? How
Taking everything apart.
all of it is about experimentation. And so the thing that's really important is that as we go through life as adults, we have to make sure that we don't get rid of this incredible natural construct that children have for learning, and that we nurture it, and we do that by hands-on education.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the third
totally
grade
agree.
teacher that my boys have, she says she has on her wall, in effort, there's joy. And it's in the deep effort of doing all this stuff that it's so fun. I see Administrator
Yes,
Charlie
teacher.
Brolton over there.
Charlie B.
Are you coming to join us?
Charlie B.
Yeah, come on over. Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys
Awesome
so much.
to be here. Thanks for being here.
Such a pleasure.
Keep myth busting.
Thank you.
So fun. All right, come on in. Okay. All right, let's do it. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
I'm Jedidah.
Jedidah, a
Nice
pleasure.
to meet you.
How you doing?
Very
Hi,
good.
Jedidah.
Very
It's
good.
nice to meet you.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm warming up just a little bit now.
Really?
Hey,
Well, I'm
it's-
taking my feet off the ground.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That'll work. Yeah, I was doing
Right
jumping
here,
jacks while
under
y'all
the
were
lights.
talking.
There you go. Yeah.
I am taking my feet off the ground, though. That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
I'm wearing 3 pairs of socks and they weren't
It's not
helping.
working now.
All right, so we have questions that have been submitted by high school students, science interested students
we could be in
from
trouble.
all over the country. And let me see if we've got something. These are astronomer specific questions.
I'm an astrophysicist. I can.
Okay.
She's an astrophysicist. Ask her all of them.
Whoa, whoa.
You get 'em all.
Right
All
under the
right.
bus.
Excellent. Will it ever be possible to grow food on the surface of Mars? If so, how will scientists create an artificial atmosphere that could sustain plant and human life?
So we're starting easy then. Just like super easy. Take
Okay.
it slow. I think probably yes. We will be ultimately able to grow sustainable life. I did not say that out loud. Sustainable food.
Sustainable food.
On Mars. I think that, in just the same way we work to create and reproduce plants and stuff in space, I think we'll figure out the right sort of small ecosystem to make that happen. I think it'll be a little farther out than what we do now. Yes. Absolutely, right? It'll take us a little time to do that, but absolutely, I think it'll be possible.
So, given that there was a process that made Mars lose a lot of its atmosphere,
Yes.
What is it that we would be able to do that would, be any different than, why wouldn't it just do the same thing? Is
Yeah.
it by small containment?
Yeah, I
that
think
you're
you'd have
thinking
to.
about?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
thinking very specifically about containment. I don't think it's going to be something that you'd just be able to sort of, without making drastic changes to the planet. I don't think that you're going to be able to just go and grow something. I think you're talking about contained units where you can very carefully curate the humidity, the sort of metal content, all those things that you need to make something grow. At least at the beginning.
And I don't know if you've had John Grunsfeld or anybody over here yet but 2020, we've got another Curiosity-like rover that we're going to launch and land. And one of the 7 experiments on 2020 is actually an in situ resource test where we're going to try to extract what little moisture there is in the Martian atmosphere and hydrolyze it such that we get hydrogen and oxygen. And that'll be the first demonstration that we can produce life-sustaining material. And I think, as Jedidah said, you put it inside some device, whether it's a dome or something like that, and go for it.
Yeah.
So we've been walking around and seeing all these amazing exhibits, and mostly what I'm impressed by is the enthusiasm of these science kids.
Yeah.
It is something that Jamie and we meet kids who've grown up with us on their television, and they get this deer in the headlight look, and then they immediately want to talk to us about stuff we messed up. And I love that. That's a very scientific approach that goes past all the social whatever difficulty that you might have meeting a TV guys. What do you guys get out of astronomy night here? What's important to you about it?
Wow.
I think for me, being associated with NASA, the most important thing is we're always trying to reach young people, and just I learned something when I first came up here 6 years ago with the president, and that was we always use the term inspire because that's what he talks about. He talks about inspiring young people. And I had a young president of an organization called NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers, and he said, if you talk about inspiring a kid one more time, I'm gonna puke. I said, whoa. I said, well, what would you do? He said, we can't inspire anybody until we expose them to what's available. And so, we've got kids out here tonight who probably never seen a telescope before.
Right.
And you get the excitement. My granddaughters have a telescope at home, but they don't have anything that's big like the ones they're seeing out here, and having somebody who can, because their granddad can't explain anything about a telescope. But I just get excited. This is the second time we've done this, and every time when you see these kids come out, they just get really excited. And I mean, some of them have come from a long
Yes, that's right.
way to
I've
be here
noticed.
tonight.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's sort of two things. Because I study astrophysics, that's my career, right? That's what I do. But it's also very much a passion. So to see young people here that are at about the age I was when I discovered this field it's sort of refreshing and exciting, and it makes me feel like, oh my goodness, the next person is going to be here and they're going to be able to do this, and it's going to be incredible and awesome. I think also about how much. So I study black holes. I didn't say that, but that's what I study, and I think of how much that has been amazing for me. But also just the experiences, the opportunity to be here. Those things are definitely enabled by my study of astrophysics. So it's not only them getting the sort of scientific, excitement and looking at Albireo and looking at the moon, but it's also how it can change your life if you really
and
let
how
it.
much you love it. I mean,
I
one of the
love
things
it.
we've gotten to deal with NASA a bunch of times over the course of making our show, and every single time we deal with NASA engineers, they are all polymaths. And they're scientists who love what we spend a lot of time in this country saying you should do what you love, and I find that the group that seems to most consistently do it are scientists. Yes.
It's true. I mean, I think to some extent, in order to really do it well, as you both know, right, you have to persist, you have to love it. Otherwise, the fifth time the thing breaks, you're like, you know what? I don't need this in my life, right? But it's the passion that drives you to keep going.
Yeah.
So that's all the good stuff, though. But some of these kids aren't going
That's true.
to do that. What was it for you,
Yeah.
or you, that made you stick with it and follow through and actually succeed at it? Is there anything that you would have to offer that is maybe a little different than?
Well, it may be that science and math are not for them. You talk about passion, and every time I talk to students, sometimes I'm talking to engineering students, and I say, one of the things that you'll learn in life is that you can start down a road sometime and you find later on that it's just not the right road for you.
Yeah.
And it's probably because you're trying to force something that either your mom or dad said or something like that. I noticed there was a young reporter over here.
Yes.
And she was as bubbly as any of these kids working with the telescope. But, I think she feels she has a career in journalism, and so she's interviewing the astronauts in the commercial crew cadre, and she's got a whole list of questions and stuff. So if you talk to my deputy, to Dava Newman, she came from MIT, and she and I are trying to put the A into STEAM. And because
fully on board with
a
that.
student doesn't necessarily know that they like math and science.
Exactly.
But if we can get them just to come out, again, if we can just expose them,
And
they
show
may
them that-
find that they love it, And I use music. I'm not a very good musician, but I use music as a way to get kids to understand that you're an incredible mathematician. You're already using a different number
Same thing
system.
with film editing.
You're
That's
using
right.
octals,
That's right.
whereas I use decimals and
That's
stuff
right.
like that. And so we just catch them where they are, and eventually, I think they'll get caught.
They will by something. And I think to get back to your point as well, I think we have to be careful about how we use the term, you didn't use it, but how we use the term failure when we're talking about these endeavors, right? Like to go from, say, a math class to a painting class or to a music class isn't actually a failure, right? Like, and I know y'all are in the same team with me, but, I think that we have to expand the realm of what is okay for students to do. So, if you ask me, well, what do I think about the students that may not make it in STEM? As long as that's not what they ultimately wanted to do, then I'm okay with it because everybody has a right to find their space. What I'm ultimately most interested in is that everyone that wants to has an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's where I think you really start to get
An
into the how do you
opportunity both
do it.
to do it, but also to see what's
Explore.
possible.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're going to
Yeah,
talk
they're
to
putting
some-
us off.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
coming.
It was lovely
great.
to meet you.
Thanks
so
a lot.
much. It
All
was a
right, take
pleasure.
care.
Thank you. It's lovely to meet you.
You too.
All right.
Hey, come on in here.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Jamie? Katie Coleman. Eric Bowe? Hey, so we were on the space station together.
Actual
We haven't-
astronauts
we
we've
never
got.
get
You
to see
guys
each other.
have broken the bounds of our planet and lived in space.
The view is awesome.
It's the one. It's the. I'm a big fan of gravity, specifically how both the force
Gravity, how
and
it
the
feels
movie.
in the movie.
Right.
Actually,
I'm not a fan of gravity.
No. Oh wow! Right.
Well, no, I'm a big fan of the movie,
Yeah,
but the rest of it, it's.
You could take it or leave it.
Oh, I could leave it.
It's
I love
funny
leaving
because
it.
when I see you in person, I always think that your hair should be doing this.
I know.
Katie.
I tell people it was never in my way because it kind of follows you around, but I think it was in other people's way. I mean, Eric and I did
it was not in the
robotics
way.
together when we were up there. I was living on the station, and Eric came up on the shuttle, and we installed a huge, big module of the space station.
And that was a lot of fun.
It was totally
How long
great.
were you guys on the station together?
Let's see, about a week and a half, 2
Something
weeks,
like that.
close to that.
Yep.
Now, we've been asking everybody this, but what does Astronomy Night, what does this mean to you in terms of reaching out to kids? What is the message of Astronomy Night?
Well, to me, one of the big things is it just really inspires you. You can get a chance. You realize, sometimes we think we know a lot about the universe, but then when you look out and you realize there's a lot of places we haven't been yet, like we just barely got to the moon, and then you see all the rest of the universe that's left out there to discover. To me, it's inspiring to realize there's so much more that we don't know. It's infinite.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's like some kids, think that people who were going to be astronomers, they already knew. And they look up and they know this stuff about the stars. And what I think is cool about a night like tonight is that, the president had to be shown, where to look and what to see and what he should expect and things like that. Because all of us, unless you actually are an astronomer, then you don't know this stuff. And so there's a whole bunch of kids that are realizing that here's a bunch of adults on the White House lawn and kids all figuring it out together, and it's okay not to already know.
Right, and we know that people look through telescopes at celestial bodies, but it is really inspiring to sit there in this big 8-inch, 10-inch Dobsonian and look at the moon and see the craters. I haven't ever done that before. I don't know how somehow that escaped my life experience until tonight, but it's amazing to see that.
I mean, this used to be the TV of the old days.
Right.
You can imagine that's a lot of people sat around campfires, looked at the stars, and here we are still doing it today. And it's even more amazing when you start looking at the science and the technology that's behind all the all the things that are out there left to discover.
Now, when you're on the space station, the celestial body you see the biggest is our planet, and it fills
Huge.
your entire view. Yes.
Absolutely.
What sort of stuff was the most surprising about first seeing it?
To me, I think the neatest thing when you first see the Earth is just the atmosphere. You can see the glow of the blue, and you can really tell the whole Earth is just alive, with life, and that there's something going on Earth. I mean, you really appreciate how delicate, it's both big and small. You realize how big the Earth is, and then you realize when you look out into space, how small we are in the grand scheme of things.
How delicate. Absolutely.
She's Samantha. We have a friend from Italy who just came back from the space station, and she says, everybody talks about our fragile planet. I looked back at that thing, and to me it looked like the Earth was really here to stay. It's not fragile. That little layer of atmosphere that is fragile, but it really does. You realize that it's spaceship Earth. And
Well,
all
when you
of
look at
us.
extremophiles, you realize how tenacious life really is. Living in sulfur baths at the bottom of the ocean and volcanic vents, and also in in the coldest possible places. Life is everywhere.
It's true.
I particularly love the enthusiasm of the kids talking about their projects when they're telling us about the rockets and telling us about things that they screwed up in the experiment, and yet they've managed to bring themselves here, to be invited here. It's an amazing, it's really inspiring, because I was saying earlier, I didn't have nearly this amount of focus when I was a kid.
Well, given that you two are astronauts, if there was a kid that wanted to be an astronaut, what would you recommend that they do? If you had, in a nutshell, this is what you need to make that happen.
I think it's better always just to follow what you already love to do, and the kinds of things that are your passion. Because if you think, well, I should do this, and that way, we need to have astronomers up in space, or we need to have this kind of engineer, and if it's not really what really makes you excited, you're probably not going to be as good at it. And I just think that you should realize that we're going to need everybody up in space, because we all live in space. I mean, there'll be
It sounds like you're saying astronauts are kind of nerdy. Is that actually the
great
case?
and nerdy.
Don't let the secret out. Really,
Totally nerdy in the greatest of ways. How about that?
I totally agree. All right.
Oh, this is cool.
all right.
Oh my goodness.
You're going to have Polynesian Master Navigator Apprentice, which is the most ancient celestial navigation that we're showing.
Absolutely.
I was over here learning
As
about
well
this. It's
as,
fascinating.
Another amazing astronaut.
The Polynesians make everyone else look like amateurs when it comes to navigating.
Navigation.
That's amazing. They were talking about reaching South Africa today, I think, or yesterday.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Using the technology that they had at the time to actually travel across the oceans.
Like Kontiki.
Right.
Wow, that's amazing.
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
Katie, Eric, thank you
Nice
so
to see
much.
you. Sorry.
Good to talk to y'all.
Talk to you.
All right. Next. Hi.
Hello.
I'm not sure what to do with this.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello.
I'm Jenna. Sunny Williams. Nice to meet you.
Here.
Let's see.
I can hold this up. How's it? We'll hold
I'm
this
Jenna.
up here.
Nice to meet Damien.
Jamie.
Jamie.
All right, so
Sunny.
hello.
Hi. Nice
Hi.
to meet you.
Pleasure. Really nice to meet you. Now,
Do you need a hand? Can I?
no, I'll hold this up. Can you tell me what we're looking at here?
This is Hokulea. This is a voyaging canoe from Polynesia, from Hawaii, and we're sailing around the world. And currently, we're in South Africa. We just reached South Africa today.
Today.
Yes.
And sailing across thousands of miles of open ocean.
Yes, and using traditional Polynesian voyaging techniques.
And
Find our
do the
way.
Polynesians have really elaborate, extremely exacting star charts to navigate by?
They just use in their minds. They memorize the universe, and they look at nature for answers, and that's what we're trying to continue and perpetuate.
So it's empirical knowledge that they're using to travel incredible distances across the ocean.
Exactly, and we're sailing around island Earth looking for solutions to the world's greatest challenges.
Yeah, the Polynesian navigation I find completely inspiring. They went to Hawaii, they went to New Zealand. I mean, their breadth around the planet from their home base is astonishing when you actually start to draw the circles.
It's the largest, I think, nation on Earth when you look at it in all the water that they discovered using these techniques. They were scientists and mathematicians.
Amazing. And so this boat just landed on South Africa yesterday or today.
Yeah, her name is Hokulea, and she just touched Richards Bay, and we're going to be in Cape Town in November for the arrival ceremony.
How many people are crewing the boat?
There's 12 at a time. We have about 300 crew members from all over the Pacific and international crew members as well.
You know, Jamie actually used to be a boat captain in the Bahamas back in his 20s.
Wow.
In the Caribbean, yeah. Navigation is it's pretty scary when you think about it. Like with any of these kinds of things, taking off. I mean, it's not like you park the boat for the night, you know, and you don't know what's out there, and you run into something in the middle of the night when you're whizzing along like a rock in the middle of the water.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's sort of a shot in the dark that literally and figuratively that you're dealing with. So it's almost like jumping off a cliff and hoping that you land in the water somewhere. You know?
Yeah. And you have a really good crew on board always looking out for you.
Yeah.
Probably just like the space station.
Well, Sunia, you're part of the commercial crews for NASA, working with Boeing and SpaceX. This is a totally new branch of I'm going to...
Yes, you can put that
This
down.
is a totally new branch of astronautics, as it were. Is it not?
Absolutely. So I think what's different about it is we're sort of, we gave loose requirements to these companies and said, hey, we need a spacecraft that will leave planet Earth and go to the space station. So take advantage of all the technology that we've advanced in the last 2-3 decades and put it in that spacecraft. And then we as this group of 4 have flown in space, both on the space shuttle and on the Russian Soyuz spacecraft, and so we're using that experience and going to the companies and seeing sort of what they've done and comparing it to what we've done in the past. And
you're giving them advice and consultation.
Well, sometimes they tell us okay enough, but you know, just using our experience to say where are the problems that we ran into before, and maybe we can anticipate some of the problems that they might have. And help them solve some problems.
And so it's this must be it's obviously a very radically different experience than just working on spaceships that are designed by NASA.
Absolutely, because we're involved in the design process, so that's pretty cool. So we get to sort of shape it a little bit as much as we can, and like I said, solve some problems. It's like the Polynesians were able to solve some problems together, and the teams are huge. You know, it's you know, our NASA teams as well as both of those companies' teams and getting together and trying to solve this.
And you guys are going to actually Are you going to pilot these? You're going to go up to space in these devices?
Yes, we are. So that's going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. But I got a lot of faith and trust in the companies. You know, of course, they all want to do this successfully. We all want them to do this successfully. Our spouses, back at home, my dog even wants them to do it successfully.
Yes.
So I think they will. They'll do a good job. Yeah.
That's very exciting.
Yeah,
it's a very
pretty
exciting
cool.
time.
It's pretty neat.
What is the projection for the first flight?
So I'm contracted to 2017. So knock on wood, that's when we'll be starting to fly. So a little bit after you guys probably finished your journey around the world.
Is that your goal, to travel all the way around the world?
Yep, 2017 is when we'll be coming home.
Awesome! What a
So
good
we'll
time.
track you
Wow.
guys.
Yeah,
This is a perfect
likewise.
confluence.
Yes. Awesome.
I think you should be sailing in to perhaps Florida to watch the first launch.
Yeah. Luckily, the navigation systems are sort of
very
using the
high-tech.
computer, so I'm not going to be the one out there trying to figure out where we're going. The spaceship will know.
In the navigation of the boat, are there things that they're learning that the modern day sailors are uncovering that were lost?
You know, I think when you look back at the master navigators, they were so in tune with nature. We're just feel like kindergartners compared to the ancient peoples, all ancient peoples. So it's hard to know what they knew. They had a much deeper level, I think, of understanding the universe.
I remember seeing a Polynesian navigational chart of currents, and it looked to me just like a bunch of sticks tied sort of randomly.
Yeah.
And yet that's an encyclopedia of ocean currents over hundreds of miles.
Because they knew their place so well. You know, they studied it every day. And so I think tonight is just about getting kids to look outside and see that nature can tell you how to find your way in the world.
So interesting, you know, after being up, I was up on the space station for long duration, as we call it, like 6 months as our increments. And, you know, it's funny, at first you're always like looking at the computer and looking at the map to find out where we are, because we have a thing called World Map, and it charts what our orbit is. But after a little while, you know, I mean, just float by the window, like, oh yeah, we're over South America. Oh yeah, the ocean, there's a lot of ocean, so sometimes that gets a little confusing. But it's obvious when it's different seasons. You know, the spring and the fall are a little tough, but when it's winter in the southern hemisphere, like, oh yeah, okay, we must be over the southern hemisphere, and the currents look like this. Or we even were able to see icebergs from space, which was pretty neat. So you start to really understand the planet when you make a lot of observations, and that's just in a 6-month period of time. So I can imagine over years and years and years.
Generationally,
They knew what they were doing.
Yes, they did.
That's astonishing. Have you seen any exhibits here from the kids that really inspired you here tonight?
I've been just running around quite a
Me
bit
too.
and back and forth, so I need to do a little bit more exploring.
Yeah.
Right here on the South Lawn.
Well, thank you guys so much for
Thanks
joining
for
us and
having
talking
us.
to us.
Yeah, thank you. This has been a lot of fun.
Lovely to meet you.
Really appreciate it.
Nice to meet you.
I
Thank
don't
you.
think you have to get up. I think we're wrapping up. This is Astronomy Night here at the White House, and we've been talking to a host of amazing heroes, and also we're all incredibly inspired by the kids here. I just checked. It turns out they're our future.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please move to the stage at this time. Please move to the stage. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Mythbusters.
I'm really glad I bought extra socks today. How you guys doing? I'm totally inspired by all you kids. You're far more focused than I did when I was a teenager. We're here to take questions from you guys about anything you want, but please remember, I have a high school diploma and Jamie has a degree in Russian linguistics with a minor in library science. So any questions about library science, go to Jamie. Who's got a question? Oh, come on. How many of you have yelled at us at the television for something we did wrong? Yes.
Yes.
What are the challenges of doing science in a filmed environment? This is a pet peeve of Jamie's.
Yeah, this is a great question because on the one hand, we find that the scientific method lines up nicely with storytelling. I mean, they both have a beginning premise and a body of work in the middle and then some kind of conclusion that you end up with. But on the other hand, often the process of telling the story tends to skew things, and because, like in our case, it's science is a lot more messy than the kinds of things that a filmmaker likes to put there, which has to be very fast-paced and concise.
Well, and also linear. We're telling a story, and we want it to have we want it to make sense to the viewer from the start to the finish. So there are times we'll encounter something that's unexpected, but is so far off of our central storyline we have to ignore it. That's not very scientific. We will state that, for the record, we don't stand by our results. We stand by our methodologies. We recognize that doing one iteration of something and saying we've come to a conclusion is a little ludicrous, but we do try and build a methodology for each experiment that we do that's rigorous enough that we would stand by it if we could really sit there and do it for a couple of weeks. And frankly, we sometimes have to be pulled away from the experiments because we just want to keep on doing them.
Yeah, I mean, the actual experimentation, this thing that we had the opportunity to do because of the filmmaking and the fact that it gets it out there and pays us is actually it's turned out to be really wonderful because we get to this playful experimentation that seems to have resonated with young people that we do is actually a way that has proven really effective at teaching us. We've learned so much doing what we're doing about all sorts of different things just because we've had the opportunity to do it because it goes on TV.
And I'm having a total geek out moment. Not only are we in front of the freaking White House, but there's a spacesuit on stage with us.
Although it is kind of cold out here.
Yes, I am freezing. Another question. Yes. No, you in the second row. Yes,
Yeah.
Young lady.
What's been the most surprising myth?
I have a personal favorite, which is we were testing a myth about a man who got very drunk and decided he shouldn't drive himself home, which is a good decision. He then asked his best friend to drive him home, but his best friend was legally blind. Now, he figured that was not as bad a ticket as driving while intoxicated. So we did some tests with us blindfolded on a closed course, and we did okay at driving, and then we got an actual blind person, and we put him behind the wheel of our car while Jamie and I took turns giving him directions. And it turned out the blind guy was a better driver than either of us. That was the first surprising result. But then we wanted to test the full circumstances of the myth. So Jamie drank enough to be at the legal limit of alcohol consumption. And he got in the back seat of the car, and the most astonishing thing happened, which is that once the car started, it was very clear that a drunk person was in charge of the car. Even though the blind guy was doing the driving, Jamie, with his directions, was making the guy drive all over and weaving all over the road. I never would have expected this to happen, and I'm not saying that you should get blind people to drive you home, but it actually worked.
Well, and being as we're here talking about science and astronomy and so on, that one little story there gives you an example of why this is important. Those stars are a long way from us, and most of us, or maybe all of us, will never get to see any of them. So why bother? Why play with the telescopes and whatnot? Well, the thing is, when you start to poke around and experiment with things and ask questions, you never know what you're going to find. Even in some of these silly examples about blind guys and driving drunk and so on, you can see that it poses a lot of questions. It leads to other questions, and for us, that kind of experimentation it's a real adventure. It's just like going to Mars or something like that.
Well, and to be really frank, we there's a deep creativity within that scientific process, and it really happens in the question. One of the first things we learned on Mythbusters is that the question's often the most difficult part of the equation. We were testing, is it better to run or walk in the rain? And everyone understands what I mean when I say that one might be more advantageous for staying drier. But you actually can't start to answer that unless you answer a bunch of other questions. Because if you spend a certain amount of time in the rain, you're going to get the same amount of wet. So the 2 graphs meet. So now we're choosing an arbitrary point where they don't meet, and we want to look at the difference. What is that point? Are you running 1,000 yards, 100 yards, 50 yards from your car into a building? We had to answer, and actually we argued vigorously over all those parameters before deciding upon a methodology to test. And when we're sitting there trying to figure out what it is we're actually going to be inquiring about, this is where the real creativity happens. And often Jamie will go, I've got an idea, and everyone goes, uh-oh. And then he takes us off on a wild tangent, like driving a car with square wheels.
Yeah, there's somebody else raising their hand. I'm sorry, can you say that again? I can't quite hear all of it.
So you start off by talking about how you don't have degrees in what you actually do. How do you formally support informal learning, though, to how people get to explore that?
How do we formally support informal learning? So I was just talking to an astronaut about a NASA engineer that we both know in common. And one of the things I have found about every engineer I've ever met at NASA, astronauts included, is that they all have multiple hobbies that have nothing to do with their disciplines. And it is about informal learning is another way of saying, chasing down the things that you're interested in. So as a father of twin 16-year-olds, I've taken it as axiomatic that every time they're interested in something, I'm going to try and put more of it in front of them. That's my job as a parent, to let them explore the possibility of the thing that they want to try. And as an adult, I do that with myself. I find a subject that I'm interested in, and Mythbusters has taught me that if I look deeply enough, I'm going to end up having my own opinion on something, and then I might actually have something to contribute. And that's all that that's all that any kind of a process of exploration really is.
Well, one of the things that we've found before, and we're finding here that astronauts have in common, is that they're all polymaths of some sort, or they tend to be, and so are we, and we're real believers in the advantage or the benefit of that kind of thing, because forming a foundation of knowledge that relies on a variety of things it's a much more stable structure to build a specific path of education on top of. If you're too specialized and you may know a great deal about a very specific thing, but it makes it difficult to deal with obstacles that might come in your path.
And speaking of that, I want to bring on stage one of my favorite polymath in the world and one of my heroes, Bill Nye the Science Guy. Come on over here. Bill, come over here. We've got a microphone and a chair for you.
Thank you, thank you.
Bill Nye! Who's got a question for Bill? Maybe about how to tie a bow tie.
Same knot as on your shoe.
Is it really?
Yeah, same knot as on your shoe. So you start with an overhand knot.
You could do it while talking on a microphone? Yeah. All right, here we go.
Am I allowed to? Oh, I'll take the whole thing. So I'm right-handed, so I bring the one from my right side over the top. And it's good, everybody, if you make this one just that much longer than the other one, about a seam width. Then you take the one underneath and you put it like that. Then this one that went over the top comes over. And this is the key, people. You've got to preserve this opening with one finger or two fingers. Then you poke a loop back through. And then you have to, whether you're at sea or whether you're wearing a tie, you have to dress the knot. You have to make the knot come down. How does that, is that good?
That was beautiful. Thank you very much. A practical demonstration.
Same knot as on your shoes. So Bill predicts, like right here in front, 2 Girl Scouts, 3 Girl Scouts. Our camera right, you'll notice her shoes probably are not untied. But here, ladies, can you come up here? Can you stand up here? And face the audience. Not me. So stage right, camera left. You'll see her shoes. Oh, you double knot, don't you?
She did a double knot there.
Oh, yeah. Safety.
So see, if you tie a symmetrical knot, it won't come untied. Now, this wouldn't matter, except these women are scouts. All right? So what we want you to do is reverse the first knot, and then when you tie a regular bow, it'll come out symmetrically. So see how my tie goes straight across my neck this way? If I tie an unsymmetrical so-called granny knot, no, it's just the old word. I didn't make it up. It's not an ageist term. Then it would sit this way, would sit vertically, and you'd go, ha, 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 ha. So I want everyone in the world to tie a symmetrical bow. I mean, I have other things that I want in life. There's other things that maybe are important, but that would be great. So, ladies, I'd like you, in the next few days, try to reverse that first knot.
And Bill will send you a patch when you get it down.
No. But I did have Pioneering Merit Badge, which I think enabled me to get into engineering school. That's my claim. Any other important questions? That was a great one, I think. We stumped them.
Everyone's too cold to raise their hands. There we go.
That's one thing about astronomy, man. It is cold. No, really. No, not. I mean, this is representative. When you're facing the night sky, you're like at 3 Kelvin. It's just cold. Yes, sir. Mythbusters question. I'll translate.
All right, hold on a second.
Yeah. Your least favorite myth or
Least favorite
experiment?
myths.
Well, as a viewer, I've got a whole list. I
bet.
kid because I love.
You know, there was one we did in the early days. The history of Mythbusters is a history of us looking for more material. We ran out of urban legends by season 2. So movie myths, viral videos didn't exist when we started making this show.
Those were quite a while ago.
Yes, exactly.
No viral videos.
We had to dial into the internet.
We did, yeah.
And so early on, I think in season 2, we had a producer who ran Carrie, Scotty, and Tori through pyramid power. Will razors put under a pyramid station? I know. I apologize to all of humanity that we ever wasted 20 minutes of screen time on that one. That's my least favorite.
Well, there's an interesting thing that goes along with that, which you might not have heard about it. Do you know about proving a negative or trying to prove a negative?
You can't prove a negative.
Well, there you go. And does anybody, do you know, young man, since you asked that question, why you can't prove a negative? Well, pretty much all you can do is prove that you can't find it.
Right. If we go looking for Bigfoot and we don't find him, we just prove we're bad Bigfoot hunters.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot more if than negative. Right? There's a lot more universe than just the negative thing you're looking for. Is that right?
That also
There's a lot
is
more
true.
woods in Washington State than wherever you're looking.
Exactly. You'd have to mow it all to the ground and look for Bigfoot in the
people would
debris.
notice that.
They would.
It seems like a simple thing, but it actually it crops up quite a bit in in our world as it exists now. And people try to do that all the time. or try to set up situations that you can't.
I got in trouble with the ghost hunters at one point by tweeting about ghosts being fictional, and people got very upset about that. And one
What?
person tweeted
What?
back
What
to
did
me.
you say?
I said ghosts are fictional. The best part was someone tweeted to me, they use science. They double check their results with psychics.
Oh, boy.
I stopped reading Twitter that day.
Yeah.
Over here
question.
is a
Yes,
waving
ma'am.
arm.
I'll go with Bill Nye for this question. What is the question that's in your brain right now and like this week that kind of keeps you up that you want to know about that has to do with science?
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, what is the next thing that you really want to know about that you're interested in?
Well, there's two. First of all, there's the big four, which I'll talk about after I mention it's still dark energy. It's very reasonable to me, you guys, dark matter. You know, when I was your age, nobody had a good theory as to what happened to the ancient dinosaurs. No one really had a good explanation for that. So I was out of school. I was a productive member of society, paying taxes, after a fashion. And people found this crater off Chicxulub, Mexico. And that just enabled a lot of deep thought about what happened to the ancient dinosaurs. And so, very reasonable to me that you guys, students here, will be alive when dark energy and dark matter are understood. That stuff, wherever it is out there, has got to be here, too, in some form. And it's just so weak, it interacts with us and what we know so weakly that we haven't found it. In my grandfather's time, there was no relativity. No, it was this revelation, this amazing thing. And I mention it because it wasn't that long ago in the course of human history. So, but the thing that I think about every day is climate change. So we want better electrical transmission, renewable source of energy, wind and solar, almost certainly. If you invent the better battery, you will get rich, like crazy rich. And then the other thing that intrigues me right now, you guys, is graphene for desalinating water. Apparently the slip length, which is some material science word, I guess that's 2 words. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with it.
Of water is shorter than the thickness of this stuff, the single layer of molecules.
Oh, right. So and it filters much.
So it would
potentially
you
filters much faster.
desalinate water at an extraordinary rate if that works out. But people say to me, Bill Nye.
That's pretty much the only words they would use.
Yeah. What can I do about climate change? What can I do about climate change? I recycle my bottles and I recycle my newspaper. That's good. What I want everybody to do is talk about climate change. It is my belief that if people were just talking about it, the way we talk about certain well-known people's shapes, if we were talking about it at that level, the way we were talking about stuff that went on in Ferguson, Missouri, and Baltimore, if we were talking about it, we would be on it. And it is my strong belief, as a guy brought up in the U.S., that if the U.S. were leading the world in renewable technology, renewable energy, everybody would be on board. It would be this thing we were all doing. And is Charlie Bolden still here? He's probably gone on, but NASA is the best brand the United States has. People, but really, just objectively, you'll meet people around the world who hate the United States. They hate me. They hate everything. I understand that, but everybody respects NASA because it brings out the best in us. You guys, we have pictures from Pluto, for crying out loud. Since I was a little kid, nobody had any idea what that thing really looked like. There it is, like a ball with like 7 geologic regions and, the parties there, I guess.
Big streaks and color.
Big streaks and color and things. And it's the next 14 months, data will be coming back from the middle of outer space nowhere. It's just cool. It's proud to be alive right now. There's got to be another question. Yes. Robotics, what's the second word?
Industry.
Well, taking over the world. No, but
I don't want to give robots weapons. I think that's a terrible idea.
we have
I
robots
know.
do have weapons.
It's a terrible idea.
No, so I know what you mean. I think, but you guys, like when you're in a plane and you look at or if you're just in a tall building, look at streets with cars. Say what you will, but it looks so organized. Cars change lanes. You know, most of the time they don't run into each other. I mean, a little bit. But really, a little bit. Most of the time they don't crash. You look at a highway from space, cars are going around turns, it's all perfect. And you're using a human brain to, well, of course, my old boss didn't use his. But you're using brains which are capable of these extraordinary things. Busting myths, saying stuff to Pluto, engaging that whole brain just to drive a car. And I think you guys will all be alive. Like major cities will just have no taxi drivers. They'll just be taxi pods.
Oh, I think it's actually within a few years, within a certain number of time, it won't be legal to actually drive your own car into a downtown. You'll have to cede control.
That's right. Let go. Yeah, you can go out in the country and drive around, do donuts. Yeah, but if you really want to get in the city, and this will be great. And then sewer system will be run by artificial intelligence, and what else we have? Robots that to run.
Then we can
the
finally
internet.
have flying cars, because I don't want humans flying cars.
Yes, and the kid next door, and then the, my grandmother. You don't want the people flying cars. It's just it's bad enough.
Yeah. Well, you're also starting to see a lot of open source things pop up with robotics that are potentially a real game changer, because that means that there's just a massive influx of brains being applied towards making these things work. I mean, we know computers work. It's just a question of putting the energy into them to make them work properly to where they integrate with us.
And that's where you guys come in. Seriously. So for us up here,
I had punch cards. I did. I had freaking punch cards.
Punch cards.
Well, you're a lot older than me. So
Yes.
Not Jamie, though. We up here are, I think it's safe to say, far more inspired by you guys than you are by us. It's sort of hilarious that we're up here on stage because what you guys are demonstrating in terms of energy and love and passion, and the fact that your thing has actually brought you here tonight is amazing. And so I give a round of applause to you guys.
Yes.
Well, very well said. Carry on, you guys. We must press. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Celebrate astronomy. Understand the cosmos and our place within it so that together we can, dare I say it,
Thank you.
change the world.
Thank you.
Good night, you guys.